Right?
No, I'm fine.
Are you sure?
I'm good. I'm just happy I got in here.
Yeah, well, now you know. So,
Yeah, I've got a couple other seats.
I've come by Zoom before.
Well, yeah, for sure. Well, I figure I should show up before the actual budget
Yeah,
meeting. Might be a good idea.
we were just finishing that,
Oh, I know, I didn't do this time. I did see it.
do want you to do that. It's very interesting because they have 8 sets of threes.
Yeah, no, I
that you
thought it
have
was
to
set up
prioritize.
good. Yeah.
And I was telling them, I think I contradicted myself a time or two maybe. And then, just to kind of see the whole picture, I might have contemplated longer. But, yeah,
I have a lot to learn, so I probably listen to
a lot to think about,
Yes.
Yeah. But they have some computers or you can do it on your phone, the survey. And
Yeah, no, I did
today, I
see
guess.
that.
I don't know.
Yeah, I was watching the legislative thing.
Yeah.
That one.
Okay.
Yes.
Harper, are you ready to call the meeting to order?
I am. Let's see. Good morning, everybody. The time being 9:04, I will call this joint meeting of the Coos County Area Transportation District Board of Directors and Advisory Committee to order. Good morning, Melissa. Will you please call the roll?
Thank you. Director Harper.
Here.
Director Vesey.
Here.
Director Johnson.
Here.
Director Clausen.
Here.
Director Nelson.
Here.
Director Dovenspike.
Here.
Director Taylor.
Here.
We do have a quorum of the Board of Directors, the Advisory Committee, Lauren Morris.
Here.
Karen Dubasar.
Here.
Cynthia Ramirez. Michael Babcock.
Here.
Richard Rogers.
Here.
Michelle McIntyre. We do have a quorum of the Advisory Committee. We also have with us today from the Budget Committee, Jeremy Oliver and Rayleigh Cousins. Welcome. And for staff, we have Dean Martin and we have Jane Stebbins, our legal, and myself, Melissa Metz. Did I miss anyone?
Yes.
No, you mentioned me.
Oh, did you?
I heard
didn't hear
that.
you. Okay, you got Rayleigh. Good.
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Yes, yeah, I heard that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here this morning. That'll take us to item 3, changes to our agenda. Board staff, do we have any changes to our agenda today?
Yes, we have 2 additions under new business. Item A, House Bill 4008, and item B, it's basically CCAT's STIF story.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We'll continue with our agenda with those additions. Board, that brings us to item 4. Public comment on agenda items limited to 3 minutes per person. Public comment in a meeting is a one-way communication where members of the public can share input on the record without expecting a direct dialogue or response. We'll please ask you to unmute yourself and share your name for the record before you begin your comment. Do we have anybody here to make a public comment today on an agenda item? Going once, twice, and 3 times. I will close that comment period. We'll have another comment period at the end of the meeting, but board, that brings us to item number 5, which is our consent agenda. Within that, we have our Board of Directors minutes from our January 12th, 2026 meeting, acceptance of our financial report and balance sheet for December 2025, and our ridership report also for December 2025. Board, do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented?
I make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the approval of our consent agenda. Is there any comments or questions? I just have one. Board, I was going through our financial report yesterday, and I just wanted to make note of on the financial report, there's a new column section for the transit hub. I just wanted to make a note of that just to make sure folks saw that. I thought it was quite interesting and fun to look at, so thank you for that. Any other comments or questions? Hearing nothing further, I'll call the question. All in favor of adopting the consent agenda as presented by staff, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The motion passes and the consent agenda stands adopted. Thank you so much. That moves us to item 6, old business, to which we have none, which moves us directly into item 7, new business. We'll start with item A, and Melissa, I'll let you take that. Thank you.
Thanks. So House Bill 4008 is proposing to bring together a diverse stakeholders, including transit providers, business organizations, employers, workers, elected leaders, local governments, transit users, to build consensus on a revenue mechanism to fund public transit across the state. So just as a little history, we have House Bill 2017, and that is what created the statewide transportation improvement fund. And that's a payroll tax of 0.1%. And that is what was intended to keep public transit going. However, what has happened is that 0.1% has been steady and with no increases, and inflation has grown by leaps and bounds, right? And so operating costs have grown by 50% in the last 5 years. So it's not keeping up with our infrastructure needs and service needs. And so it's been reported that 63% of the transit providers surveyed by Oregon Transit Association in 2025 were in budget deficit or projecting a deficit. And so that is why this House Bill 4008 is so urgent. And the goal is that this task force would investigate different revenue mechanisms that could adequately fund transit, that in seeking a broad consensus from the general community. And then a report would be given in December of 2026, ahead of the 2027 legislative session. So originally they were going to be taking public testimony on House Bill 4008 this morning, but at the last minute they pushed it to Wednesday morning. And so we continue to have an opportunity to submit written testimony should the board want to propose that type of action. Any questions on House Bill 4008?
So when you say that the board would propose action, are you saying that as a transit district, we would authorize, as a board, we would authorize you to submit public comment? Correct. On behalf of I would make a motion to authorize Melissa to write a letter in support of House Bill 4007.
4008.
Sorry, 4008.
Second that proposal.
All right, we have a motion and a second to authorize our general manager, Melissa Metz, to write and submit a letter of support on House Bill 4008. Did I get that correctly? Do we have any further comments or discussion on that motion?
Well, if we're running a deficit, we have to have increased funding, or we won't be running, period. So, we'll have one bus to take the whole county, and the person will want to ride the bus and they won't be available to get the bus. So yeah, we gotta get more revenue stream somehow, and someone's got to make a decision in their lives from Salem.
That sounds like a big gap that we're gonna have to get a lot more planning going on and such. Yeah,
they just need to have some teeth in their funding. They can't just mandate stuff or whatever and then expect it to be done. Huge.
yeah.
Any other comments or discussion? Hearing none, I will call the question. All in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye.
Bye.
Opposed, say no. I think the ayes have it and the motion passes. So I will look forward to that, Melissa. Thank you so much. Do you have anything further, or are we moving into item B?
I'll be happy to move forward with CCAT's STIF story.
Go right ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. So, just a little history. So back in 2017, we had the introduction of House Bill 2017, establishing STIF. And it was the hope and light of public transit across the state. And in CCAT's own personal story, we were hoping that, we were going to expand services, we were going to reduce fares, and we were going to bring comprehensive benefits to our employees. That's what our intent was. And then it all passed, the money came into fruition, and then we started talking about services back in 2017, and we started doing the insurance census of our staff, and our staff were enrolled in Medicare and Oregon Health Plan, because quite frankly, we weren't paying them enough. So as a result, they were on the Oregon Health Plan, and there wasn't a need for insurance. And so we said, all right, all well and good. We're just going to give them some life insurance. We're going to expand services, and it's a win, right? So the district had a wake-up call in the fall of 2024. And our staff started a discussion for representation with ATU. And then in February 2025, staff voted against ATU representation. And in June of 2025, the district did establish an employee association, and Richard Rogers on our advisory committee represents the employee association. And so we continue to have dialogues, right? Because our employees are one of our most important assets, right? They are the face of our company. And 2017, we built transit on the backs of our employees. Doesn't really feel good. And I know we can do better. And so today we're starting our conversations about prioritization services, prioritization of resources, and we'll be going into budget building, etc. in March. And we really need to be thoughtful and make intentional decisions so that we are serving our communities well, and we're doing it well, right? We're walking the talk. So today, I hope that I get everyone's support as we foster a more equitable balance between our service provision and the well-being of our staff. With that, I'm going to let our chair take any comments from our advisory committee, board of directors, and our budget committee members who are with us today, because we're all a team as we move into this budget building process.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Melissa. I think at this point we can, if anybody wants to start us off, I can open the floor for discussion and comments. If anybody wants to get us going, go right ahead, Director Johnson.
So I think that it's a hard line when you look at, like, I did the survey, and I felt very gosh, what's the word? Like, I struggled because sometimes I chose the dollar value of the cost per ride over the area or the people that were being served, and other times I chose the people that were being served over the dollar value. And so when you're looking at sometimes one person costing $60 to move from point A to point B, it seems like, wow, that's a lot when they're only paying $10 or $15. But we can't do this work without reliable vehicles and staff to drive those reliable vehicles. And if we are not paying staff well, then we have a large turnover. When you have a large turnover, you're spending more money because training doesn't come without a cost. Um, so I think that we're on the right track, so to speak, by wanting to make sure that we um, invest in our employees, try to get them, longer term so that we're not having a revolving door. And I appreciate the opportunity to have this conversation because we can't control the cost of the fuel. We can't control, there's certain things that we can't control, but we can have a say in how we treat our employees so that they are with us for the long term and not just that revolving door. And I don't know where we're at right now on turnover versus longevity, but I know for a while there was a lot of turnover. And so I think anything we can do to cut down on that is a solid investment in our organization. I'm done.
Thank you. Anybody? I'm looking at you guys, you're all small on my screen over there. Board, I would also remind everybody that we have, I think it's 3 different discussion questions listed, should be on our agendas. So if you would like to respond to those in addition to any comments that you have to make also pertaining, feel free.
Well, when I was doing the survey and I was forced to make a decision to cut a ride versus another, it was impossible. Because it's people that you're affecting. We go to Powers. Can we afford to cut the ride from Powers to town? No, we can't afford it. Does it cost a lot of money? Yes. Can we afford to cut the ride to Florence? No. Because without that, we have no transportation from getting to Florence to get to Eugene. So really, the choices were impossible. I mean, we have to have some increased revenue stream somehow, but to make a choice over a 95-year-old lady riding a bus in Florence versus a 95-year-old lady riding a bus in Powers, there's no choice. We got to give them a ride. We got to make it possible. So to pick like that is not happen. It's impossible. So doing that survey, the survey sucked. It's a great survey. I support the survey, but I don't want the results that the survey is going to say that we need to cut the Powers run. Myrtle Point people can run from Myrtle Point to Coos Bay. And so that survey was painful because I felt the passion from the people, even though I don't even know who the people are. So the survey was great. The results, or if they're based on finances, we're in trouble. If they're based on people, give them a ride, figure it out. Provide us money, state. Give it. Yeah, sorry, that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Director, EC.
If
Anybody
if I
else?
could add one thing, I think that we as a district need to somehow help people understand that yes, we have a payroll tax that helps support something that we might or might not use, but our neighbors might use it, our friends might use it, our family members might use it. Because it's easy to be like, oh, I don't want a new tax. Like, I'm not a tax person. I would prefer that we not have a bunch of taxes. But I also understand that we aren't in a big metro area where it's convenient. Like where I live, I'm never going to have transit services. I'm not. And I'm okay with that because I know that there are people that I'm friends with that use Dial-A-Ride or that use just the regular bus system. um, I don't know anybody now from Powers, but I used to have an acquaintance that took the bus from Powers into town. So for me, it's that whatever 0.1% is of my payroll, it's like, okay, I'm helping Sally Joe, I'm helping my neighbor, I'm helping somebody. And so if we as a district can help people understand that rather than being like, oh, you're just taking more from my paycheck. Like if we help them see that it's a small amount for a lot of goodwill. So I don't know, Melissa, if we can work on that from a PR standpoint somehow, but I think it could be helpful.
Thank you. Any of our budget committee or advisory committee folks want to chime in there? I can see you all.
I just wish the people in the towns realize the necessity for the bus system and utilize the opportunity to ride the bus, because there's gonna be a point where that bus won't be available and then they want to ride the bus, but they didn't take advantage of the opportunity, and then it's gonna eventually sometimes go away, and then they're gonna complain, and that's the problem. They're gonna happen. They need to utilize the service until it's not available. We don't want to take the service away, but if you don't utilize the service, sometimes it's going to come down to money, and it's really a harsh reality.
It's gonna be that one person though that used it all the time that
Oh, I know.
suffer as others aren't. So is our only revenue resource the state, or can we look elsewhere for revenue? Like put something on the county ballot to raise funds through the county or something.
We're a non-taxing district. We can't.
Well, that was an example. Are there any other resources or places that we can look for revenue? Or is the state it?
So currently our resources are federal, right? Federal grants. Then we have STIF, our which is that 0.1% payroll tax. And then we have fares, which is small. We'll just say that it's small. And that's pretty typical of public transit agencies. That's your flavors of funds.
You had a question?
Well, I was just gonna say, I'd like to support this bill that's going to come up again in Wednesday. I mean, public testimony is welcome, I'm sure.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I
And-
think that's really important. And the PR portion, people understanding the importance of the transportation, that's something separate. I mean, federal payroll tax, that's how it all started. That does need to increase, and that'll be later. That takes time, so it won't be right away. The fares, the fares it makes it available, So I suppose people can donate, but that's donation, So anyway, I support this, and I have a lot to learn about it. I live out of town, so I'm not in Powers, but I appreciate the availability of the transit system.
Thank you. I think we're going to go with Michael Babcock next. He has his hand raised.
All right, you guys can hear me?
Yes.
Correct.
So I work for a national nonprofit for my day job, and it amazes me when we do twice a year our 2 annual auctions. I've got people in our nonprofit that pay $1,500 to $2,000 for a dozen of brownies, which is significantly outside my budget. But I'm wondering if there's some creative ways we can explore fundraising and do like a local auction or something that might be beneficial to the transit services. And it would also bring awareness to why people need to care about transit being available.
Thank you.
Yeah, in looking at that, I welcome this discussion. I think, you know, it would be great to have a workshop on it or something there. A little retreat. I welcome this. What I recognized at first blush anyway, and I'm willing to discuss it, but that you know, here in town, there's other modes of transportation. They can get a taxi. There's a lot more people in town that might be friends or relatives or some sort of natural supports to get them somewhere. But the places that are out of town, going all the way to Powers, that's got to be significantly less ability to come in from Myrtle Point and Powers and that, or to get up to Florence, be able to get out of town. And I really don't like having to trade off like that, but it just feels to me that maybe we have to cut back a bit on how many times we make routes availability. I voted, you know, basically on that survey, let's just make it straight through. If you're going all the way to Myrtle Point, let's make it all the way through to Powers. It may be less times a week or whatever, maybe less times around town if we have to tighten our belts for a while until we figure it out. I like what you're saying about fundraising. I think we're you know, not really getting it out there that the need as well, or you know, I think we might be able to help with that. But I just saw that the trend here of making trade-offs for me was more getting to the places or down in Charleston. I don't think they have such a great way of getting to town. But the North Bend, Coos Bay, you know, there are other alternatives, but some of these people don't have any alternatives. That's all they got is CCAT, or they got nothing, you know. So I guess that's sort of where I trended on this whole thing. But I do like the idea of fundraising. Maybe it's not even just auctions, but donations as well. And it would come in, I think, if we did a good job of it.
If I could add that I agree with fundraisers are a great way. They're also very, very staff heavy and time consuming. So that's something else to take into consideration, is that the idea of fundraising is great. And, you know, like Michael, you're with an organization that does fundraising twice a year. You kind of have a bit of a mechanism in place, which allows that to be a little more streamlined. For us, if we're starting a fundraiser, it is a lot of work to bring a fundraiser from zero to completion. And that takes a lot of staff time. Even if you've got volunteers, it still takes a lot of staff time. So I just want to throw that out there. Again, I'm not saying it's not a possibility or an option. Just keep in mind a lot of staff time.
I was surprised working for a nonprofit how much just 2 letters sent out a year brought in. And so it doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, finding a place and show, you know, I think you could streamline it at least at first, but you also need the mailing list and, you know, how you get that. So, but yeah, I understand that it's going to be staff heavy on that at, you know, at some point for sure. So.
Melissa, how many other organizations, if any, are we requesting pass-through funds from, or can we?
CCATD helps support like Florence, for example. Is that what you're referencing?
Yeah. So there's gotta be a lot of other organizations that are using transportation funds, state or STIP funds and federal funds, right? In the area.
Sure, and I mean, CT Clusie does that pass-through model, as you reference, and then we do have agencies who purchase passes on behalf of their clientele, right?
So that might be a resource to kind of delve into further, look into further, try to partner with. I know Coquille, the Coquille tribe has the ability to do that. But it might take a little bit more effort to work with some of these organizations.
I think that's very generous of you to put your name in there to volunteer.
Well, and if they're online, they're not going to be happy with me, but.
Well, I think when I worked for APD, some of that, as a case manager, I just bought tickets, but we also had a slush fund. We did have a little, there's not like a line item that they can, maybe tap into, but there was a slush fund. There was a way for them to buy some of those tickets, so. But again, the ticket or, the ride per person isn't very much, but then you can't raise it too much either. When we raised the fares last year, we heard a lot about it, from folks that are on fixed incomes and barely making it, and it's not getting any easier. So that makes it difficult. And it just doesn't give us that much revenue, unfortunately. But yeah, there's a lot of businesses. I mean, there's a lot of people getting to work too, so employers should be more interested in making sure this happens so they can get their people there,
Well, and that's the thing. It's like we're talking about fundraising and reaching out to other organizations. Whatever we do is going to complicate things and it's going to make more work for people. And that might be something that we have to just accept if we want to keep what we have or grow what we have. That we're not going to be able to do it just by talking, I guess. So yeah, I mean, there's some really tough decisions to be made, and maybe even some of the employees would be happy to help with the fundraising, going to the events or whatever needs to be done. I think it would be great if we could figure out a way to work with other agencies to help keep us afloat and keep them servicing their clients as well.
Michael, go ahead.
I just want to throw something else out there, just for discussion and consideration. One of the new opportunities that we have rolled out to our members, and we're in the process of doing it now, is the free will program. And that gives people the ability to create a free, legally binding will, of course, with and this isn't positive to think about, but it is something that happens to all of us, with the intention of the possibility of people leaving funds to us as an organization in their will because they were able to get that created on their for free. So something else to consider, and I'm not sure, I'm looking at the website right now. I don't see, and I'm again not sure if it's possible, but there's no way for the public to donate at all if they wanted to donate to us, and that could be another option too.
Well, possibly we on the board and advisory board and that type of thing could also maybe help with some of this staff need to help with fundraising and that kind of thing. So maybe we could carve out a little more time.
I like Shire's idea of having a kind of a workshop. A breakout, that we could actually spend maybe half a day or something and really work on. Sussing out some possible solutions.
I think another alternative to that could very well be, we often have a secondary budget hearing scheduled for April 13th if we ever needed, but I don't think we've exercised that in the time that I've been here. So that could also absolutely also be a possibility, adding a secondary budget hearing to continue those conversations in this conversation in whole. Any other comments or discussion pieces out there? It's wonderful stuff so far. All right. Go through all of my stuff. I think going back to the questions on the agenda, I think I'd agree with everybody. Looking at that survey was difficult. It made me really sit down and think, and just kind of sit with the fact that most of our riders are the most vulnerable people in our community. It made me think and look critically at our ridership numbers, and really start thinking how I personally am going to engage with the public and community before and throughout the budget process. I think it's going to be so ample, like we're doing now, that everyone here that has a voice at this dais takes a step out, and that step to engage with folks in our community to see from their perspectives what they see that we really need. Yeah, a lot of good things said out there already, but I will give one more opportunity for anybody for last comments before we move on. I would say, as a reminder, if we think that this conversation really needs to continue, I would again remind us that we have an opportunity for an April 13th budget hearing. Just another opportunity to look through stuff and make sure we're asking all the ample questions and ample opportunity for public involvement. But I think that's all on my end. If anybody has anything else, I'm happy to entertain that. But if not, I think we'll move on.
Well, I would support them, get together on the 13th, but it would be short if that was, the time frame. We may need a longer time. I'm not opposed to half a Saturday or something like that myself. Because I'd like to hear everybody's point of view on this survey. And we're just taking it just ourselves without discussion of priorities and stuff. And I'd like to hear from everybody and before I really made up my mind on the priorities. But I like the workshop to where we could brainstorm maybe some different things, really actually not just a short discussion here, but get something really tangible and sustainable and with substance that really actually went somewhere. I would, be in favor of that.
Anything further?
Question over in the corner.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, I'm greatly on the budget. Yeah, I think this whole thing came into being because of that payroll tax. I mean, that was how it happened. I mean, that was the amazing part of it. So regular funding and regular ridership, I mean, the regularity of it is the goal. And so I'm all for, bringing together, like have been said with the agencies, I mean, the people that are actually benefiting and then in turn benefiting this transportation district. I mean, there's the symbiosis, the relationship between that. I mean, I think that can be done. But I think it started with, having regular funding. So that's the overall goal, regular funding, regular ridership, consistency. I'm all for consistency. So I'm there to help in any way I can. I just have lots to learn, but I'm so glad, like I said, I'm glad this exists. Thank you.
I just feel like that might have been, I wasn't there when all that happened, but it was more seed money, and that I'm sure that people would like that we could expand the possibilities of how we raise funds. And I don't know how much we've, really spent the time to dig into that and see what's possible.
Absolutely. Any last comments, Melissa? Are you getting all that? You got some wonderful notes in there.
So just to recap some of the items, right? So next steps, we'll be focusing on education, right? The small amount of payroll tax and the big impact that it has, right? Education, then also as a reminder, as a next step, public testimony. So they're hearing on House Bill 4008, and I believe you can still sign up to do public testimony on Wednesday. And then setting up a workshop with a focus on fundraising, right? And diversification of our resources. So that's what I have. And I think when we do that workshop, we have a coordinated human services transportation plan that those stakeholders that participated in that coordination plan would also be invited to the funding diversification workshop.
That sounds wonderful. Does anybody else have anything to add on in respect to that? All right, wonderful. Thank you so much, everybody, for that conversation. I look forward to continuing it in the future. And as a reminder, we have our budget committee meeting March 9th at 9:30 a.m. and an April 13th one if needed. But folks, that will take us to item 8, which is our general manager's report. So Melissa, I'll pass it back off to you. Thank you.
Thank you. So all right. So I wanted just as Director Harper pointed out, on our budget to actual, we did break out the transit hub from our operations. You will recall that our current budget for this current fiscal year is one fund, the general fund. But when you lump those two together, it would appear that our operations has like taken a jump up. And so what I did was I broke out the consulting and my time that has been taking place in preparation for our transit hub development. And I think for transparency, when we gather together and I am preparing the budget for 26-27, we're going to actually have two funds. So we'll have our general fund, which is going to be our regular day-to-day operations. And then we're going to have a facilities/capital fund, which is our transit hub. And then we'll see all of our investments with respect to architecture and engineering and construction. That will all be in the transit hub column. So I think that will be a great benefit as we move into monitoring our investments for the next several years. Any questions on that? Okay, next item. So we did do some housekeeping on our intercity schedule. So Florence, you may recall, I mentioned in a previous meeting that in Florence, at the casino, they said, no more public transit. CCAT can no longer come onto premise. And so you're going to have to make your connections with Link Lane at Grocery Outlet. Well, we've had a couple of glitches, quite frankly, when they took the casino away from us. And so we needed to better align ourselves with Link Lane at grocery outlet. And so as a result, we released here at the start of February an updated schedule, focusing on this 5:40 time when we depart from grocery outlet, going south each evening. We have Link Lane is supposed to arrive at, I want to say it's 5:33. And so this will serve us much better and make sure that customers can have a better connectivity there. On the Coos Bay Myrtle Point connector, so previously that was named Timber. If you are new to transit and you heard, oh, the Timber route, no one would know what the heck, what's Timber? It's that's not informing anyone of any communicating what's getting connected. So we are renaming Timber to Coos Bay Myrtle Point, right? So that we're communicating what the route is up front. And we added, number one, at the top of the route going southbound Walmart, because again, the connections in the mornings, you have Charleston, the blue line coming in, and it makes it so much smoother if those customers can connect to the Myrtle Point connector at Walmart, then hopefully coordinating between the two buses, constant radio contact happening in order to facilitate it at the VA clinic. So adding that Walmart connection is continuous improvement. And then we also added Fred Meyer's. So folks coming from Coquille Myrtle Point into Fred Meyer's, and we did have some young individuals that school age that were getting off and then having to walk back to their residence, where Fred Meyer's is not only connecting to residential area more easily, but it was also providing the essential service. So it only made sense to add Fred Meyer's to this menu of stops for Coquille Myrtle Point. Any questions with respect to these two improvements?
No question, but I really appreciate it. Yeah, that we're.
I know the pain they had at the casino, because my son experienced that pain, and that made I experienced that pain driving to pick him up. So I'm glad it's improved.
Very good. Next up, so February is CCAT's safety training focus is lift usage. So we are doing some just annual refreshers with our staff, make sure that the doors are locked in place, make sure that they're using the safety belt that goes across the lift, and instructing our passengers to make sure they hold on to the yellow handles going up and down on the lifts. And so each month we will be doing a new safety training focus, and the lift was one that we are working with our drivers this month. Next up is results from Transit Day. You'll recall January 28th was our Transit Day, and we were able to, no one paid any fares on January 28th. Everyone got a button who rode the bus that day, and we provisioned 251 fixed route trips. And when we do a comparison, the week before that, the Wednesday before, we only did 182, and the Wednesday after, we only did 164. So you can tell that we made a significant impact on January 28th. And so with that, then everyone is wearing our little promotional buttons, which is awesome. And then on the fourth Tuesday, then February through December, then they will ride for free if they wear their button. So that will be great. And again, raising the awareness of public transit in our community, and also sharing how we appreciate our customers. Anyone who rides on a future fourth Tuesday and doesn't have a button, they'll have the opportunity to pay their fare once, and they will get a button. And again, they'll have that opportunity then for the following months to ride on that fourth Tuesday for free. Any questions on our safety training or on Transit Day? All right, next up, update on the Transit Hub. First off, we did the request for proposals for our construction manager and general contractor. And we received 5 proposals, which is fantastic. And as a reminder, Melissa Dovenspike and Mike Clausen were identified as our representatives on our interview panel. Thank you very much. And Mike also volunteered to do reference checks. Thank you so much for doing that for us. And we did a review for completeness and responsiveness, and we will be inviting 3 firms to interview of the 5. And with respect to our property, so we were slated to close last month. We found it was delayed. And the reason it was delayed is because we had a recent revelation that there was illegal stormwater dumping. So the current owner has issued trespass notices to the neighbors, indicating you can't dump your water across property lines. Just can't do it. And they'll be, they took cameras and to explore where these pipes were coming from. And as I said, everyone's been notified, and the owner is going to be capping these pipes. And once that's all complete, then we'll be back on track to close, so we're now looking at the end of the month. Any questions with respect to the Transit Hub? All right, as a reminder, Bill and Mike, I'm missing your certificates of completion for the required training. And the last item is funding opportunities. So we've been talking about funding quite a bit today. And I am happy to announce that we were awarded a community renewable energy planning grant, $100,000. That will help us plan for solar at our Transit Hub. And then I submitted a letter of interest to Roundhouse Foundation to help us with the architecture and engineering costs that we will be having soon. It'll help with the match. And then I submitted our renewal application for the Rural Veteran Health Transportation Grant. And soon, ODOT will be releasing the competitive grant program for projects anytime now. So we're open to that. So we'll be looking. I know that if they're thinking it'll be pretty heavy on bus replacements. And so I'll be working with Dean to identify any older rolling stock that we have that would be appropriate for this cycle. And, you know, maybe we'll look and see how they frame up this call for proposals, but maybe the powers might be a project for this, but we'll have to wait and see how they frame up the call for projects. That's all I have. That was a mouthful though.
Thank you so much, Melissa. Do we have any final questions? Wonderful. Thank you, Melissa, so much. It was so wonderful. Board, that moves us, we're almost done. Moves us to item 9, citizen comments on non-agenda items. So open public comment, the same prescribing rules as last time. Do we have anybody here for a public comment? Do we have anybody who wants to make a comment at all? Anyone out there?
I just want to thank Melissa for all these grants that you've applied for and got for us. I think that's amazing. I know it's very time consuming and a lot of work to do grants and special training and everything. So I just really appreciate it. You're really helping keep alive the lifeblood of what we're doing here. So thank you so much for all you're doing.
I just have a question. Is the DEQ involved in this flare project in regards to the illegal stormwater? Are we good to go with the people who own it? They're trying to sell it.
So stormwater is a topic of our NEPA. That's the National Environmental Protection Agency requirements that we have to get a green thumbs up that we are not doing anything bad with the environment as we consider developing this 2.6 acre piece of property. And processing stormwater is an issue. As a 2.6 acre lot, we can't process we have enough land to process our own stormwater. We do not have enough land to process someone else's stormwater on top of our stormwater. And so that's why it's so important that we get these capped and addressed.
Good, because this project's taken my whole life, so they need to we need to get it started, finished while I'm still here in Pleasant. Dovin's Pike. Our whole 15 plus years we've been working on this project. That's all.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Melissa. We have any other final comments from folks? Just want to say thank you to everybody. Show my appreciation to all of our staff, of course, and all of you for being here. I hope all of you have a wonderful rest of your Monday and rest of your week. Stay safe, stay healthy. Our next Board of Directors meeting and budget meeting will be, oh, hold on. That's incorrect. It's in March 9th. March something.
Yeah, March 9th.
Yep.
There we go. Perfect. March 9th. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll adjourn this meeting at 10:01. Thank you.